guys can all introduce yourselves. So we'll start with you, Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm from Foster Farms, a poultry processing company, so we make fresh and frozen poultry products. And I look after all of our integrated marketing across paid, own, and earn, digital, social, shopper, in-store e-commerce, so kind of through the line activities.
I'm Scott Marsden. I lead the media data and analytics team at Quigley. We're an independent agency on the West Coast and East Coast that's full service, and we're women-owned, and we have a bunch of different CPG brands that we leverage, Ball being one of them, who's here with us today.
Cool. Hi, I'm Lyndsey Pappas. I manage the paid media for Johnsonville sausages.
Great. So when I spoke to each of you had different strategies of how you manage your networks. If each of you can just let us know where in the funnel you use the networks. Is it lower? Is it upper? Is it throughout the whole system? Rachel, we'll start with you.
Sure. So currently we use it primarily for lower funnel. It's the closest that we can get to consumer and transactions. We don't have a direct-to-consumer business, so it's very much retail focused. So kind of investing with the retailer really allows us to use their first-party data to reach our target shoppers. So very much a slower funnel, but a lot of retailer media networks are coming out with different platforms like off-site media, and on-site and things like that, and even video and connected TV to kind of go up the funnel a little bit to drive consideration and awareness. So yeah, we're very much lower funnel right now, but investigating kind of how the other media tactics can move us up the funnel with them.
Okay, Scott.
Similarly, we use it as a performance channel that's focused on extending our reach across different platforms. We look at it similar to how we look at search, social, and programmatic media spend, and we drive to a ROAS or a return on investment. And you know, it is the fastest way or the closest way we can close the consumer, but we are starting to look at presence and share of voice and coverage from a brand perspective as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I would say at Johnsonville, we probably start before the funnel even comes into the picture. So I never wanted to be in sales, but I'm finding more and more that before we're even talking about, hey, are we going to do a retail media network buy? I'm like, well, are we on the shelf? Because we're not going to just run a bunch of marketing and advertising if our product's literally not even on the shelf. So the first role that I'm really tasked with is coming in from the very simple like search side of the business to say, hey, if we're not running keyword search or we're not doing the e-commerce search, we're literally not even on the shelf. So that is always number one for us. Highly recommend, if you're not one of my competitors, that you guys are all looking very hard at whether or not you're coming up on those digital shelves, because if you don't put in your certain keyword terms and you're not doing the buys that say, hey, I'm searching for sausage, Johnsonville's probably not going to even show up, and it's a big brand, within those first 2 or 3 rows, which means I'm not even in your consideration set. So my goal is get us on the shelf, get us ideally within the category sets so that if somebody is searching for a competitor, Johnsonville shows up. Like, I would love to do that all day long if I had the budgets to do it all day long. But it gives us an opportunity to grow the category really from the ground up. So once we're on the shelf, we'll expand a little bit from there. If we're going to stick within the actual like e-commerce site, next place I'm going is banners, and nothing pains me more than to get packages from reps and there's banners that aren't shoppable. I'm like, it's a website and people are shopping. I want the banners to be able to be shoppable so people can add it to a cart. The entire goal for us on the e-commerce websites is to get products in carts. The second we're in the cart, most people when they come back, they're going ahead and they're going to shop as start my cart. We've already been in their cart, and now the repurchase that comes from there just keeps growing incrementally and incrementally. And then, of course, we look at different off-site ways to kind of tie into that first-party data as well.
Great. So, Scott, we'll start with you. But for your clients, how does a specific network stand out? How do you select one? Are there any, what's the criteria, basically?
I mean, Lyndsey covered most of it. For us,
yeah.
Sorry. That's why I said put me last.
You did a good job. We wanted you to go first, remember?
Oh, we could do that.
Our brand has to be associated with the retail network first and foremost, or if there is an opportunity to engage them, we look at that. But we're a media agency, we're a performance agency, we look at the numbers, we look at the reach, we look at the opportunity, and the other side is what is the trajectory or the volume that we're getting out of this retail network? Can we find incremental? Should we be driving to that retail network, or should we be advertising within the retail network? And again, our job is to shorten the path to purchase as much as possible, but the challenge that we all have, and I think, Lyndsey, you covered this well when we prepped, was, are we getting new customers? Yeah. Are we just spending more money to get the same customers that were going to buy us anyway? And the data for that is harder to come by.
Yeah.
But it's also, if we're not there, then our competitors are there. So in a long-winded, rounded way, we look at the same media metrics that we look at for any partner, and we extend that to what is the forecasted volume that we're going to grow from.
So let's move on to watch-outs. So when you're negotiating with the retail media networks, are there any watch-outs you have? Like any advice for the audience, the people out there buying these networks? So we'll start with you, Rachel.
In terms of watch-outs, I can only look at the results that they send me with a grain of salt. I think Dom mentioned it yesterday, where you kind of have to look at retail and media networks in the same lens that you would with any other media that you buy. So even though they'll tell you like, oh, you got 10x ROAS, what does that actually include? Was it the overall kind of brand level? How much out of all of our SKUs that we brought in, or was it the specific SKUs that we were actually promoting through that retail media network? So it's kind of just looking at what the results that they provide you, because that's kind of really the beauty that we see with retail media networks. It's you can get closed loop measurement, but it's really, are they kind of trying to pull the wool over your eyes and just kind of making sure that you get the transparency that you would expect with other media partners, in addition to kind of the scrutiny here, because this is lower funnel, this is, you're paying extra to invest with them. The CPMs are ridiculously expensive now. So how do you kind of really justify that and making sure that you get all the data that you need after the campaign?
Okay. Lyndsey, we'll go to you.
Yeah, a little bit back to your last question. I would say that we're in a somewhat unique position, I think, within retail media networks, where we're not picking the network. We're not deciding like, I pick you because of this. It's like, if it's Kroger, it's 8451, and if it's Target, it's Roundel. So there are no choices. It's figuring out how to work best within the ecosystem of what you're given. Some of them are certainly better than others and provide better data than others. I would say watch out. My number one watch out across all of them would be notoriously putting too much of the audience against our brand buyers. I just don't really want to spend a lot of money talking to myself. I'd rather talk to people that are buying the category, people that are buying adjacent categories. They like to do it because the ROAS, of course, is going to look better. I think when you're looking at whether or not these people are going to buy you anyways, that definitely gets muddied water. So I think if you've got 75 or even 50% of your budgets going to your brand buyers, your ROAS is going to look a little bit better. But when you actually look at new to brand, which is a huge measure for us, it's going to be much lower. We're of course looking at lifetime value, but it's new to brand, it's incrementality, repeat of course from there. So the bigger the numbers that we're going to be able to show from a customer standpoint or a segmentation or the overall buyers is going to be, they're within the category already, but they're not buying us. That's huge. If we can grow the category, of course, our buyers love to see us growing a category. But we're really looking for people that are new to the Johnsonville brand. The other callback I would say is what their look back window might be. So sometimes new to brand could be 12 weeks, which it really shouldn't be. Somebody like Kroger will say it's 26 weeks or it's 52 weeks. Great, that's a good amount of time. I would just make sure that when you're doing these buys that new to brand is truly as new to brand as it could be.
Scott, do you have any watch-outs?
I mean, they both covered it very well. I think the only thing that I think about as well in the sense of new to brand is vitally important. It's driving your growth. There's the other angle, which is the loyalty in the CRM world, which with some of our CPG brands, we don't have access to that data and we don't have that direct relationship. So reinforcement, and we have to work with our clients to think about how are we balancing that reinforcement. Oh, you were going to buy us anyway, but you haven't bought us in a few weeks or a few months. So let's go back to you. And it becomes managing the funnel on the individual platform and partner holistically, and it gets harder and more complex, and then we all suckle from the teat that is ROAS, and the better the ROAS, the more excited we get. But as an agency partner, we have to be careful with that, because to your point, the 10X, it looks great and we're successful and clients love us with a 10, but if we're not growing the business and or we're not maintaining your customer loyalty, then everybody's suffering. So I think we look at it, or we try to look at it from that full funnel perspective.
Can I add something?
go ahead.
So I also think it's looking at the retail media networks, not just in a vacuum, because you might get return on ad spend for these particular weeks, but then was there trade? Was there something going on in the economy? Like, you have to kind of look at other things in addition to what they tell you in terms of what the return was or what you've seen in terms of bringing in new buyers. It's kind of making sure that you see all the layers there.
Yeah, and I mean, to back on your comment a little bit, Scott, is if you had a retention plan, by all means, it would be a fantastic way to go ahead and try to get people to repurchase that have purchased your brand. I would say, to clarify that, our goals are much more driven in the growth area. We do have some plans separately that are specifically for retention, but if it's not a retention plan, then yeah, we're certainly trying to grow new buyers as much as possible.
Great. So let's talk about testing and learning across the networks. If each of you can speak about how you're testing and learning. I guess we'll go with you, Rachel. I'm like whoever spoke last, but yeah, I guess we'll just go down the row.
In terms of test and learn, I kind of mentioned up front that we're investigating how to overlay retail media networks and kind of linking it with in-store activity to kind of give that more omni-channel experience. So do we overlay with in-store plus retail media plus, I don't know, programmatic plus social plus connected TV? So kind of really seeing what, by then adding on RMN, measuring what is that incrementality that we see in the sales and kind of really testing that out to understand kind of which RMNs work best for us and perhaps which ones don't. So that's what we're doing right now.
Great.
Similarly, we test full media stack across the different platforms, and we use the same tools and techniques that we think about it in Google search. We're looking at different keywords, different copy. We tend to throw on a lot of geographic tests in the sense of a lot of our CPG brands are drive to store, and so the majority of the revenue comes from a Sephora or an Ulta, but we are trying to drive to Sephora.com and Ulta.com, and we're using platforms to test and learn our way to driving either in-store traffic or on-site traffic, but we're focusing that geographically to understand how the audience behaves and how much impact and incremental impact are we making on the sale.
Yeah, I'd say right now most of the testing and just thoughts that we're trying to process through with the media networks would be that split between the on-site and the off-site and what we think works better. So if we step a little bit away from the ROAS and sales, if we're just looking for overall branding and awareness, and we want people to feel good about Johnsonville, we want to grow our share in sales dollars overall. Where's it more effective or more efficient? A lot of these partners, they like to put a lot of the weight on site, which you would think for awareness, it's like, yeah, you're closer to the point of sale, but when you actually look at the higher CPM to do it, we're finding more times than not, just happened with a big one in particular, that the offsite was actually much more efficient. It was a great test and learn, and then we just started working on the next buy, and we're like, well, how come we don't have, like 75% of our spend on offsite? It just creamed the results. Well, they still want to put the same amount on the onsite. I'm like, well, why did we test and what did we learn that we can't do anyways? Because they want to keep it, of course, on site. This is a huge revenue generator for them. Like, this didn't exist. They had their slotting phase, and now it's like, well, now we have e-commerce search, which is the new slotting fee for the digital shelf. So on-site versus off-site, I think, is huge for us. They're trying to keep up with everything is near impossible. A lot of them, I just got something, you probably all got an email from Target saying, hey, we can now do, I think it's videos or something with Pinterest, or videos on YouTube it was. So, we're trying to figure out, is it worth it to spend the extra CPM to know that we were reaching the first party data, the first purchasers, through somebody like Target? Or is it, hey, if it's so much brand awareness and an eyeball is kind of an eyeball, and we've got enough distribution everywhere, then maybe it's not best to use it as an awareness play. So it's kind of a somewhat unanswered question, but it's I think becoming a little bit more clear. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the future. What are each of you looking forward to this year. I know you guys want decreased costs, but you can, if you want, Lyndsey, we'll start this way.
I don't know. I'll just be candid. I would like to see these retail media networks do more of the lifting. I kind of feel like I work for Roundel and I work for Walmart Connect and I work for 8451 and I'm like, what do you account people do? Like, I don't. I'll stop there. It's better over drinks. But I'm like, thank you. Oh, does anybody want to go into Cam and upload their creative for Kroger? I don't. I'm like, I don't work for Kroger. So I would like to see them. I feel so much better. I mean, I would like them to do some of the lifting.
Not your fault.
I might cry. There's Kleenex. We said it's gonna be a real tearjerker. Look at all this. Look at all the Kleenexes on that table. That is a huge one. I think just trying to simplify it. The problem is it's a little bit of the blind leading the blind. Like we're all learning, including them. Everything is changing. Nothing is consistent. They're all doing it a different way. They're all providing different reporting. So I'm sure there were other industries like this back in the day too that were kind of all over the place. I think when we can streamline it all and all talk the same language across the various retail media networks and everybody actually knows what in the hell is going on, it won't be such a time suck, right? This is a lot to manage right now. It could easily be a full-time job for several people within an organization if they're doing it themselves, easily. Yeah.
We can help you as an
I mean, I don't think Hannah would like that.
Sorry, Hannah. I just did what my CEO needed me to do. As an agency, we get excited about new media generally because, who knew a few years ago TikTok would be where it is, and now retail networks are catching up. And it gets harder and harder every day for all of us. And one of the things is, I lead a media team, so how are we getting smarter in this space and adding more value for our clients is the big question that we ask ourselves internally. And so we are actively trying to train people to get smarter on these platforms and, tell somebody that is really good at TikTok to learn how to do Target. And they're not really that interested in it. So, because they really love TikTok for some reason. And we're training our search specialists into retail search. And it does transfer, but none of us can afford to have 14 different bodies and 14 different specialists just for one account because we can't scale that. So one of the things that we're focused on and I'm excited about is trying to convince our team to learn more and be more rounded in platform-based media buys across different platforms, across search, social, retail, programmatic, et cetera, and then expanding our footprint as an agency and a capability for our clients. It's only going to get harder. Data is inconsistent, and you have to teach everybody to learn. Well, ROAS on one thing is 52 weeks, which of course you converted in 52 weeks versus 7 days on Facebook or whatever. So, I don't know that I'm excited about it, but challenge is fun, and we're excited about trying to deepen our knowledge there.
Thanks.
And I would say what I'm looking forward to, I guess it's definitely. I see retail media networks as kind of a new walled garden. So they are expanding their offerings and the different tactics that they have. So I would love to see the retail media networks being more transparent with their data. As we all know, they only want to share kind of the bare minimum. So hopefully it's developing more of that partnership with the retailers. And then also kind of using retail media as kind of a thing to help to build relationships with some of these retailers. So I try to work closely with our sales organization to shout, this is what we are doing with Kroger, Roundel, Walmart Connect to make sure that we are getting credit essentially for all of the work that we are doing on their channel. So I know it's a new revenue stream for them. So just making sure that that's top of mind for all of the buyers that we work with.
Great, thank you. We'll open it up to questions. So see if
anyone have any questions?
One back there. Please say your name and company.
Hi, April Carlisle with Spark Foundry. So I love the conversation about new to brand and how each media network is using different attribution data. Talk to me about incrementality. So as you think about the retail media networks, which ones do you think are leading in demonstrating true incrementality, I guess?
Yeah, I could take that. I think Instacart does a pretty good job with the data that they have in-house. I think they do a great job just in general, at least showing it within Instacart's platform. Like, I mean, we don't know if somebody's bought it directly at Kroger or anywhere else where they shopped, but they do a good job. I think Kroger across the board, I picked on them a little bit. I think they're phenomenal. I think when it comes to actual data and what you can get, they are by far number one. Some of the stuff they give me, I'm actually quite amazed that it's as good as it is. But I think the best place where we're really getting our incremental data is within like what we call like our SI&A team in-house. So they're doing all of our analytics. It's going into Stratum for Kroger, and it's actually looking at the sales data and seeing what happened. Is the best way to get your incrementality is get it in-house. Look at your actual sales data, pull IRI, and take a look at the data. I wouldn't trust the actual, outside of maybe the Krogers and Target of the world. We're looking at that data behind the scenes. Yeah.
Oh, one follow-up. You didn't mention Amazon. Curious.
You know what? We actually don't do much on Amazon. Okay. We really don't. Yeah, I don't know if anybody else has anything to share on Amazon, but I have very little experience when it comes to Amazon. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Is it because it's a refrigerated product?
That's a pain point. It is. Yeah. I would
I can't imagine.
I should have brought meat sticks for everybody. I would have been good. I could have put them on the table. But aside from that, it's tough.
You still can.
Well, Liquid Death comes in here all fancy. I'm like, well, I have meat sticks. I just didn't bring them. Yeah. Yeah.
Hi guys, Brett from Chobani. I'm curious, in building off that last great question, do you guys utilize any third parties across either your retail media tech stack or from a measurement perspective to have an overarching view of what you guys are doing in the space?
I can take that. Yeah. So we buy IRI data. So what we do is we have retail media on and retail media off during specific durations, where we try to make sure that the media plan is pretty much consistent across the board. And then we kind of look at the lifts, because I touched on it earlier. I don't really trust what the retailers say that were the sales results from our campaign. So we kind of look at IRI with kind of that lens to then see what was the baseline, and then was there any lift. And if there wasn't a lift, then we can go back to KPM or Roundel to say, look, you told us this, but this is what we actually got.
Right.
Anyone else? Oh.
I'm Shelley with Ball Corporation. I wanted to push back, Lyndsey, on some of the things you were talking about in regards to the frustration with some of these retail media networks.
Yeah.
We've also experienced some frustration. I was curious, have you guys been able to push back on some of those and really question some of their methods to be able to not only bring it up to, appropriate standards for what we're all trying to do in that tech world?
I mean, we've attempted it. I can't say we made any real headway, and I think that goes a little bit back to the comment I made about we're pretty much all still learning, and they're still learning. So, the best we can hope for is some are better than others, and really, I think how everybody gets better is they're going to start hopping around. They'll start stealing from each other. People that work for Kroger, Stratum will go to the other ones, and they'll all eventually figure it out. I mean, but until then, no, it's pretty much like you get what you get.
Okay, that's been our experience as well, and we don't have as big of a, ability to leverage some of that because we are such a new product.
Right, and I used to think that too. So I mean, I came through to Johnsonville from Gilbert's. They acquired that brand and hired me to handle all their paid media, and we just always thought it's like, oh, it's just because we're Gilbert's, small company. We're just not big enough. We're not getting the good stuff. And I get to Johnsonville and I'm like, nope, they don't get it either. It's not just us. So I promise it's not just you. I don't know, maybe the Clorox and Unilever could school us on it, but it's not, I'm still in your boat for sure. Yeah.
Anyone else? Sorry.
Hi, I'm Stephanie with Avalanche, and my question is for you, Rachel. You mentioned IRI data, and you're in the fresh meats space, so we have some clients in the fresh meats as well. I'm curious, do you run into any challenges with attribution with catch weight situations where it's not a SKU base?
Yes, random weight. I love it. So what my category insights team have done a great job to map what we ship to the different retailers by case. And then we then map that back to what is that actual UPC, or I guess a parent UPC that is distributed at the specific retailers. So what we can do is IRI pretty much seamlessly maps it back, because our category insights team have done their due diligence. They literally spent like a year, I'm not even kidding you, to make sure that, that everything is mapping back correctly into IRI.
Anyone else? All right, well, you guys were awesome. Thank you.